Welcome, beautiful Sigma ladies. Some women fit the mold, others melt it down and build something no one's seen before. Psychologists have found that less than 12% of people naturally operate outside traditional social hierarchies, and within that rare group, Sigma females are the most unpredictable. They don't follow the alpha's spotlight, the beta's rules, or the crowd's script. They write their own manual, and then hide it, just to see who notices. Being a Sigma female isn't about being mysterious for the sake of drama. It's about living in such a way that people can't quite figure out how you're doing it. And that's what makes you magnetic, intimidating, and occasionally the reason your coworkers whisper during lunch breaks. If you've ever felt like you're walking through life on a completely different operating system, one that doesn't crash just because society sends you an update, this list might feel uncomfortably accurate. Number 1. You're willing to outgrow people publicly. When you're a Sigma female, growth isn't just a personal journey. It's a visible shift that people around you can't ignore. You don't quietly upgrade yourself behind the scenes so everyone stays comfortable. If you're evolving, it's going to show in how you speak, how you carry yourself, and how you interact with the world. And if that change makes others uneasy, you don't slow down to reassure them. You know you can't shrink to keep someone else from feeling small. This makes you different from most people. Many will try to evolve in secret, almost apologizing for becoming better, stronger, or more focused. They worry about hurting egos or being accused of changing too much. But you understand something most don't. The ones who truly value you will adjust to your growth, and the ones who can't were only invested in the version of you that was convenient for them. When you outgrow someone, it's not about arrogance or cutting them off coldly. It's about recognizing that the connection was tied to a phase of life you're no longer in. You can still appreciate the role they played in your story while accepting they can't walk with you into the next chapter. And you don't feel the need to hide this transition. If someone notices you've stopped engaging in the same conversations, spending time in the same places, or tolerating the same nonsense, so be it. This openness about your growth unsettles people because it breaks an unspoken social rule. We're all supposed to evolve at the same pace, so no one feels left behind. But you know life doesn't work that way. Everyone's timeline is different, and you refuse to pause yours just so others can catch up. The truth is, people will accuse you of being distant, proud, or even cold when you're simply living at the speed of your own development. You don't owe them explanations because your life isn't a group project. You have the courage to grow publicly, and in doing so, you become proof that it's possible to keep moving forward without apology, without disguise, and without dragging anyone along who no longer belongs in your lane. Number 2, you value discomfort as a signal for growth. You don't run from discomfort. You chase it down like a clue. While most people avoid awkward or tense situations because they want to feel safe or keep things smooth, you see those moments as raw material for growth. When conversations get uncomfortable or emotions run high, that's when you learn the most about yourself and the people around you. You know that real change rarely happens in comfort zones, so you don't shy away from those prickly moments. Instead of pretending everything's fine or diffusing tension just to keep the peace, you let things get real. You ask the tough questions, sit with the uneasy silences, and watch how others behave under pressure. It's not about stirring drama for drama's sake. It's about mining truth from the cracks where most people sweep the dirt under the rug. This doesn't mean you seek out pain or chaos, but you don't waste energy avoiding it either. You understand that discomfort is often a signpost pointing directly to what needs to be examined or changed. Whether it's a difficult conversation, a challenging decision, or an internal struggle, you lean into it to see what it reveals about your values, limits, and strength. By doing this, you train yourself to be resilient and authentic. You grow not by staying safe, but by daring to face the parts of life that most shy away from. This is why you're often ahead in emotional intelligence and self-awareness. You don't flinch when things get uncomfortable. You listen harder, feel deeper, and emerge stronger. If others avoid the messy parts of life, that's their choice. You recognize that discomfort isn't the enemy. It's a raw, honest teacher that most people refuse to acknowledge. But you embrace it because you know growth lives there. Number 3. Your friendships are based on unspoken pacts, not constant contact. Your friendships aren't built on endless texting, social media likes, or constant check-ins. Instead, they exist on a foundation of deep, unspoken understanding, unwritten pacts that don't need to be verbalized because they're felt. You don't measure connection by frequency or superficial interaction, but by the quality of the bond and the trust that time and distance won't change the essence of your relationship. This means you can go months, even years, without talking to someone. Yet when you reconnect, it's as if no time has passed at all. For you, friendship is less about maintaining appearances and more about respecting each other's space and growth. You recognize that people have lives, priorities, and journeys that don't always sync up. You don't expect others to constantly prove their loyalty or affection through frequent communication because you know that true connection isn't fragile, it endures. This approach keeps your relationships free from the pressure and neediness that often poison social bonds. When you do engage with your friends, the conversations pick up naturally, without awkwardness or the need to rehash every detail of what you missed. There's a deep-rooted sense of acceptance and non-judgment that allows both parties to be exactly who they are, without pretense or explanation. This effortless reconnection comes from a shared understanding that your worth as friends isn't tied to how often you speak, but how genuinely you care when you do. This kind of friendship isn't for everyone because it requires maturity and confidence. Many people cling to constant contact as a way to avoid loneliness or insecurity, but you know that real bonds don't need that crutch. You value quality over quantity and are willing to let relationships breathe and evolve naturally. Your friends may come and go, but the ones who truly belong in your life stay connected in spirit, no matter the gaps in communication. In a world obsessed with instant gratification and social validation, your ability to maintain deep, meaningful friendships without constant interaction is rare. It shows that you understand connection on a profound level, one that transcends the superficial and honors the unspoken pacts of loyalty, respect, and genuine care. Number 4. Your silence makes people confess things they never intended to. Your silence is not empty. It's a powerful force that fills the room in a way few people understand. You don't feel the need to constantly fill conversations with words or explanations because you know that silence carries its own weight. When you stay quiet, it's not out of hesitation or shyness, but a deliberate choice to let your presence speak louder than anything you could say. People around you pick up on this energy even if they can't put it into words. The stillness you embody is so intense and focused that it creates a kind of pressure, a magnetic tension that makes others uncomfortable in the best possible way. When someone is in your presence, they suddenly find it harder to hide behind polite small talk or superficial masks. Your silence forces them to confront themselves. Without your interference, they fill the void by revealing parts of their thoughts or feelings they usually keep buried. It's like your quietness pulls confessions out of them, not because you asked, but because they simply cannot stand the weight of the unspoken. They start talking, sometimes too much, sometimes too honestly, because they're searching for relief from the intensity you radiate. You don't need to pry or coax. Your silence is enough to make them open up without even realizing it. This is not manipulation, but a natural effect of your energy. People feel safe enough to let their guards down around you because you don't judge or interrupt. At the same time, they feel the unmistakable truth in your presence, an unwavering stillness that calls for authenticity. It's like a mirror held up to their inner selves, and many can't help but reveal what they normally keep locked away. You create a space where silence becomes a conversation on its own, where what's left unsaid carries more meaning than words ever could. This ability to disarm through silence makes you incredibly rare and magnetic. Others may feel anxious or pressured by your quiet power, but you don't need to speak loudly or make a scene to be noticed. Your silence commands attention, draws out truth, and changes the dynamic of every interaction. In a world addicted to noise and distraction, your unspoken presence is a breath of fresh air, and an undeniable force that leaves people exposed and profoundly moved. Number 5, you respect power but refuse to kneel to it. You have a clear and uncompromising understanding of power. To you, power isn't a weapon to control others or a crown to be worshipped. It's a force that can be wielded with respect, responsibility, and intelligence. You acknowledge when someone holds influence, whether it's through their achievements, status, or ability to move people, but your respect comes with conditions. It's never automatic, never blind. You see through empty displays of authority, the kind of power that demands submission as a right rather than earning it through genuine leadership. The moment someone expects you to kneel, to conform, or to silence your own voice simply because of their position, you lose respect for them immediately. For you, respect is not about bowing down or shrinking yourself to fit into someone else's hierarchy. It's about standing tall, even when you recognize that someone else holds more sway in a given situation. You understand influence is not a tool for domination, but a responsibility to lead with fairness, wisdom, and strength. When power is used to coerce or manipulate, it becomes worthless in your eyes. This stance sets you apart because many people confuse power with control, and they believe respect requires submission. You reject that notion outright. You know that true respect is a two-way street. It's earned by those who can hold power without crushing others beneath it. When someone tries to force your compliance or diminish your autonomy in the name of authority, they reveal their weakness, not their strength. Your refusal to kneel is not rebellion for rebellion's sake. It's a statement of your own integrity and self-worth. You don't engage in pointless power struggles, nor do you challenge authority just to prove a point. Instead, you hold a quiet but firm boundary. You will stand beside power, recognize its value, but never be owned by it. Your respect goes to those who inspire, empower, and lead without making you feel small. Anyone who demands submission instead of mutual respect loses you immediately, because you know that standing your ground is the truest form of power there is. Number 6. You can enter a room without announcing your presence, yet still command it. You don't need to raise your voice or perform grand gestures to be noticed. When you enter a room, your presence is felt instantly, not because you demand attention, but because you naturally command it. There's a subtlety to the way you move, how you carry yourself, and the energy you emit that shifts the atmosphere without a single word. People might not even realize exactly what changed, but they feel it. It's like the room adjusts itself around you, acknowledging your quiet authority. This kind of command isn't about being loud or dramatic. It's about owning your space with confidence and calm assurance. You don't need to force interactions or draw eyes to you with flashy behavior. Instead, you radiate a grounded energy that pulls people in and holds their focus effortlessly. Others may try to fill silence with noise, believing that being loud means being powerful, but you prove that strength can be quiet and still deeply influential. Your presence has weight because it comes from a place of self-possession. You know who you are, what you stand for, and you're comfortable in your own skin. That certainty translates into an invisible force that changes the dynamic in any room you enter. You don't interrupt the flow. You become part of it, seamlessly shifting the mood without breaking it. It's a power that's easy to underestimate because it doesn't scream for attention, but once noticed, it's impossible to ignore. People are drawn to that kind of presence because it promises stability and authenticity. It signals that you're someone who doesn't need to prove anything, someone who acts with purpose rather than reaction. In social settings, this means you often become the quiet center around which conversations and energy revolve, even if you say very little. Your impact is lasting because it's real. It's not a show or a performance. Ultimately, being able to command a room without announcing yourself is a rare gift. It shows that true power doesn't come from volume or theatrics, but from an unshakable inner strength that others can feel deep down. You move through the world with a quiet confidence that leaves people changed simply by your presence. Number 7. You test people by letting them misjudge you. You've learned that people reveal their true selves not when they're impressed by you, but when they underestimate you. Instead of rushing to correct misconceptions or prove your worth, you let others form their own judgments, even if those judgments are shallow or wrong. This is a deliberate strategy, not a careless oversight. You understand that when someone misjudges you, especially by assuming you're less capable, less aware, or less important than you really are, their reaction becomes a window into their character. When shallow or insecure people underestimate you, they drop their guard. They might speak more freely, act more arrogantly, or try to take advantage, thinking you're an easy target. In doing so, they reveal impatience, entitlement, or a lack of depth that might have otherwise stayed hidden behind politeness or social masks. You observe quietly, without making a scene or exposing yourself prematurely. This gives you a clear, unfiltered view of their true motives and attitudes. Letting people underestimate you also gives you the upper hand. It's like holding a secret card while they play with incomplete information. Because they don't expect much from you, you have space to act with precision, surprise, and calm control. When you decide to step forward, your impact is all the stronger because it comes from an unexpected place. People who thought you were harmless or irrelevant suddenly realize how wrong they were, and that realization changes how they treat you forever. This tactic isn't about playing games or being manipulative for manipulation's sake. It's about protecting your energy and assessing people in the clearest possible light. If you rushed to correct every misconception, you'd waste time and reveal vulnerabilities to those who don't deserve your trust. By letting others misjudge you, you conserve your strength and gain insight. You become a master of reading people's reactions under pressure, which helps you decide who is worth your time and who isn't. Ultimately, testing people through their misjudgments is a way of filtering the world. It helps you identify genuine allies, potential threats, and everyone in between. It's a quiet but powerful method of maintaining control over your own narrative and keeping your circle authentic and trustworthy. You don't need to shout your worth because you know that when the time is right, your true self will speak louder than any misconception ever could. Number 8. You can abandon an entire social circle without emotional withdrawal. You don't get tangled in social webs just because they're familiar or convenient. When a group no longer feels authentic or aligned with who you truly are, you have no hesitation about stepping away, even if you've been part of it for years. Unlike most people who might cling to social circles out of habit, obligation, or fear of loneliness, you prioritize your inner truth over maintaining appearances. Emotional withdrawal isn't a slow, painful process for you. It's clean, decisive, and almost effortless. This doesn't mean you're cold or indifferent to the people you leave behind. Rather, you understand that staying in a space that doesn't resonate with your values or growth drains your energy and dulls your spirit. You've learned that genuine connection isn't measured by how long you've known someone or how often you interact, but by how real and supportive the relationship feels. If the dynamic becomes shallow, toxic, or performative, you simply stop investing your time and emotions there. Walking away doesn't come with the need for explanations or apologies. You don't owe anyone your presence just because you once shared history. You know that holding on to old social ties out of guilt or obligation only creates emotional debt. Instead, you preserve your integrity by choosing where and with whom you spend your time. This kind of boundary isn't easy for everyone, but for you it's a necessary act of self-respect. What makes this ability extraordinary is how little emotional turmoil it causes you. While others might ruminate over what-ifs or try to mend fences repeatedly, you accept that people and circumstances change. You don't cling to what was or hope for what might be. You focus on what truly exists in the present moment. Your detachment is not numbness, it's clarity and strength. Because of this, you often surprise people who expect you to behave like everyone else, clingy, needy, or afraid of being alone. But your independence runs deeper than mere social preferences. It's a reflection of your commitment to authenticity and growth. You're willing to let go of entire social circles without hesitation because you value quality and truth above quantity and comfort. And that kind of emotional freedom is rare, powerful, and unmistakably Sigma. Number 9. You don't chase rebellion. You naturally live outside the script. You don't set out to be rebellious or to shock the system. Your way of living simply doesn't fit into the usual boxes society expects. While many people chase rebellion as a badge or a statement, you operate on a level so naturally apart that you don't have to advertise it. Your choices, routines, and values aren't designed to provoke or impress. They just exist authentically, untouched by the need for approval or conformity. Others might try hard to carve out an alternative identity, clinging to trends or loud declarations of nonconformity. You, however, quietly walk your own path without making noise about it. Your life's structure isn't about breaking rules for attention. It's about creating a framework that works uniquely for you, regardless of what the world thinks. This means your nonconformity is effortless and genuine, not performative. You don't rebel for the sake of rebellion, but you don't feel the need to explain or justify why you don't follow the crowd. Your independence isn't a phase or a reaction, it's a steady state. Because you don't have to shout about being different, people notice it more deeply. Your quiet defiance becomes an unspoken truth that challenges others' assumptions about what success, happiness, or fulfillment should look like. You live outside the script without needing to tear it up. And that's what makes your presence so compelling and, sometimes, unsettling to those who depend on the usual narratives. In a world full of people trying too hard to prove their uniqueness, your natural detachment from the script shines brighter. It's not about making noise, it's about being so inherently out of step that the script no longer applies to you. Number 10. You're immune to social ranking games. You exist outside the petty social games that consume so many people's energy. The endless hierarchy labels, alpha, beta, queen bee, mean very little to you because your sense of self-worth isn't tied to anyone else's approval or ranking system. While others scramble to find their place on the social ladder, obsessing over status and influence, you're completely detached from the noise. You don't see yourself as competing in a popularity contest, nor do you feel the need to claim a title or role within any group. This immunity to social ranking isn't born from ignorance or disinterest, it comes from a deep internal foundation of self-validation. You know who you are, and your confidence isn't fragile enough to be shaken by who's on top or in charge. You don't need to prove yourself by outshining others or by fitting into predefined boxes because your value isn't dependent on external recognition. This allows you to navigate social situations with a calm, unbothered presence that others often mistake for aloofness or mystery. Because you don't play by the usual rules, you see social dynamics for what they really are. Performances people put on to gain acceptance or control. You recognize how exhausting it is to constantly jockey for position, and how superficial many of these games feel. Rather than getting caught up in drama or trying to manipulate your way into favor, you observe quietly, engage selectively, and keep your energy reserved for what truly matters. Your detachment from social rankings frees you from the insecurities and anxieties that plague those who depend on external validation. You don't need to curry favor or seek approval to feel whole. This independence often makes you a paradox in social groups. You're simultaneously overlooked by those chasing status and deeply respected by those who understand genuine strength. Ultimately, being immune to social ranking games means you're the player who steps off the board entirely. You define your own terms and move through the world without needing a crown or a label. This rare freedom is a cornerstone of your identity and a source of quiet power that keeps you grounded, focused, and above the petty squabbles that drain so many others. Number 11. You detect forced charisma instantly. You don't just hear charm. You feel its authenticity, and when it's fake, it sets off alarm bells in your gut that others often miss. Forced charisma is like a poorly dubbed movie. The charm is there, but it's out of sync with the person underneath. You can tell when someone's smiling too hard, when their compliments sound rehearsed, or when their magnetic energy is really just a mask covering insecurity or manipulation. This detection isn't about judgment, it's about survival. You've learned that manufactured charm often signals hidden motives, whether it's to manipulate, gain favor, or cover up a lack of substance. So instead of falling for the sparkle, you stay guarded, often choosing silence or subtle distance over forced engagement. It's quietly repelling because it breaks your instinct for genuine connection. You crave raw, unfiltered interactions, the kind that don't need a sales pitch or a spotlight. When someone tries to charm you artificially, it feels like a cheap transaction rather than an honest exchange. That's why you don't waste your time on charm that doesn't hold weight. You value depth over dazzle, truth over performance, and real presence over any act. Your radar for this runs deep, and it's one of the reasons why many people don't bother trying to win you over with flash. They know you won't buy it. Number 12. You're a collector of invisible leverage. You have a knack for noticing the things others miss, the subtle cues, the unspoken tensions, the hidden patterns in people's behavior and the environment around you. This isn't accidental. It's a deliberate and quiet form of mastery. While most are distracted by noise, drama, or surface-level appearances, you are absorbing details that don't seem important to others, but hold immense strategic value. These fragments of information accumulate over time, creating a reservoir of invisible leverage that you can tap into whenever the situation calls for it. This kind of leverage isn't about boasting or using power aggressively. It's subtle, almost invisible to the casual observer. You might notice a slight change in tone during a conversation, an unspoken rivalry simmering beneath polite smiles, or the weak link in a system everyone else assumes is flawless. You don't broadcast these observations. You store them mentally or quietly document them, building a map of how people and situations truly operate beneath the surface. Because you hold this knowledge discreetly, you're rarely caught off guard. When decisions need to be made, or when navigating complex social or professional landscapes, you pull from this hidden bank of insight to guide your actions. It gives you an edge, an ability to influence outcomes without overt confrontation or power plays. You don't need to fight loudly or be the center of attention because you already hold the keys to understanding what drives people and systems. This strategic awareness also makes you incredibly discerning. You know when to speak, when to hold back, and when to act in a way that maximizes your advantage without burning bridges. Your leverage isn't about manipulation for personal gain alone. It's about maintaining control over your environment and ensuring you're never left vulnerable to surprises. People might underestimate you because your power is quiet and hidden, but this is exactly what makes it so effective. Your ability to collect and use invisible leverage means you're always prepared, always several steps ahead, and always in control of your narrative. It's a skill that sets you apart, giving you freedom and influence without ever needing to announce it. Being a Sigma female means living on your own terms, guided by an inner compass that refuses to conform, control, or compromise your essence. You move through the world quietly but powerfully, commanding rooms without shouting, valuing discomfort as growth, and collecting invisible leverage that others don't even notice. Your relationships aren't about constant noise or possession, but about unspoken pacts, authentic connection, and respect without submission. You resist the pull of social games and group mascotry, knowing that true influence comes from integrity, self-possession, and the courage to stand apart without alienation. In a society obsessed with labels, loudness, and superficial validation, you are a force of nature because you don't chase approval or fight for status. You simply embody a strength that draws people in without needing to prove anything. Your silence speaks volumes, your boundaries are ironclad, and your affection liberates rather than confines. If you recognize these signs within yourself, know this: you belong to a rare breed of women who don't just survive the world's expectations, they quietly rewrite the rules. Embracing your Sigma nature is not about fitting in, but about standing out in a way that's authentic, fearless, and profoundly magnetic. If this resonates with you, embrace it fully. Let your presence be felt without apology. Own your power without permission. And remember, being true to yourself is the greatest strength you'll ever have. If you found this insightful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into the unique traits that set extraordinary people apart. Your journey is just beginning. If this message spoke to you, Make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss powerful insights like these. Don't forget to like the video if it resonated and share it with someone who needs to hear this truth. Got thoughts or experiences about being a Sigma female? Drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your story. Your support helps this community grow, and together we're rewriting the rules.